You're in the Situation Room. Happening now. Breaking news. The targeted killing of an American citizen by the United States government this hour. New details of the assassination of top Al-Qaeda leader Anwar Al-Aulaqi. Killed with him, another American who played a critical propaganda role for Al-Qaeda, putting out its English language online magazine, a man who once said he was proud to be an American traitor. But there are serious questions about whether the killings are legal. Critics are slamming them as summary executions. Welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. Wolf Blitzer is off today. I'm Joe Johns, and you're in the Situation Room. He was an American citizen who preached violent hatred toward America, and as leader of Al-Qaeda affiliate, he was linked to multiple terror plots, including the Fort Hood massacre. Now, just months after taking out Osama bin Laden, the United States has killed Anwar al-Awlaki, leader of Yemen-based Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. U.S. and Yemeni officials tell CNN Al-Aulaqi died in a U.S. drone strike in Yemen, along with another American man who produced Al-Qaeda English language online magazine. President Obama says it's proof U.S. anti-terror efforts are working.
Earlier this morning, Anwar al-Awlaki, a leader of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, was killed in Yemen. The death of al-Awlaki is a major blow to Al-Qaeda's most active operational affiliate. Al-Awlaki was the leader of external operations for Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. In that role, he took the lead in planning and directing efforts to murder innocent Americans. He directed the failed attempt to blow up an airplane on Christmas Day in 2009. He directed the failed attempt to blow up U.S. cargo planes in 2010. And he repeatedly called on individuals in the United States and around the globe to kill innocent men, women, and children to advance a murderous agenda.
CNN's Tom Foreman is working the breaking news for us. And Tom, you're learning more about how this went down.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. The simple truth is, of all the places in the Middle East where Al-Qaeda has been a concern, the place where authorities have hunted Al-Awlaki has always been in Yemen, which has been a troubled place in many, many different ways. And they've tried very hard to get him there. For example, if you move down here, you can look in the southern part of the country. In 2009, there was a cruise missile attack down here where they attempted to strike against Al-Awlaki in the southern part of the country. That failed. In May of this year, they went in with Predator drones and fired Hellfire missiles at a convoy. They thought they had him, but apparently at that time, he had changed cars with another jihadi, and so they did not get him that time either, all of which led to sort of a mythology about him and whether or not he could ever be caught. But this thing that happened today in Kashif is a different story. Let's go up there and look at the place where this came down. This is about 85 miles south of the Saudi Arabian border. You can see that there's really not a whole lot here in this area. Very small, very remote area. If you look at it from above, you can see there aren't many houses here. Nonetheless, Yemeni intelligence officials found out sometime back, not terribly long ago, that they believed that Al-Awlaki had a safe house in this area. They had identified it. They had intelligence on the ground. They also had reason to believe that he was going to try to make a transit from this place to this town down here. This is about a 50-mile trip. So they were watching it very closely, and about 10 o'clock this morning, that's when it all came together. What happened at that time is based on this intelligence that he might be trying to come out of here. Predator drones were in the area. There were also manned aircraft flying at a further distance, which could have also aided in the attack if need be. The drones were being controlled, we're told here at CNN, by CIA officials working in concert with Yemeni security officials who knew about all of this going on, as we understand it. In any event, they believed that Al-Awlaki was making this transit from this town to another about 10 o'clock in the morning. They did not know in the process, apparently, that Khan was also with him, or if they did, we haven't heard details about that yet. Nonetheless, they came in with the drones, they struck, and about 5 miles outside of the city where he had a safe house, one of the United States' great enemies, as far as the administration is concerned, has been taken down. Joe?
Tom Foreman, thanks for that. 2 top al-Qaeda leaders killed by the United States in less than 5 months. First, Osama bin Laden, and now Anwar al-Awlaki. What impact will this latest death have on this terror network that's become so much of our lives? With us right now is CNN national security analyst and terrorism expert Peter Bergen. Put this in context for us. For the person just sitting down in front of their television, they know Anwar al-Awlaki must be a big deal, otherwise we wouldn't be talking about him as much as we are. But how high in the organization did he go, and what does this mean for the organization?
Well, he didn't lead Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which is the organization that tried to bring down Northwest Flight 253 over Detroit on Christmas Day 2009. He's one of the leaders, and he's not the leader. He's also not the bomb maker who basically built the bomb, the so-called underwear bomber trying to put on the plane. So the reason we're talking about him is he speaks English. He's an American citizen. If you do the thought experiment where he didn't speak English, we wouldn't be talking about him. He's not a big deal in the Arab world. He doesn't have a lot of... But, you know, clearly he recruited people in the United States, was able to inspire them to actually go through with acts of violence in Britain and in Canada also. So, you know, it's significant. It's not Osama bin Laden. The idea that this is the new Osama bin Laden, I think, is overkill.
But you still sort of know them by their deeds, and this was a man whose name was associated with a number of different incidents, some failures like the Times Square bombing, some successes.
Sure. Unfortunately, you know, there was an email exchange between Major Nidal Hassan and Anwar al-Awlaki in which Major Nidal Hassan essentially said, is it okay to kill American soldiers?
This is Fort Hood.
Yeah. And so several months before the Fort Hood incident, he had about a dozen exchanges of emails with al-Awlaki, essentially trying to get religious sanction for what he was about to do. So, you know, that's clearly, you know, you can see why al-Awlaki suddenly became an important person in the last couple of years for the United States government to try and find.
But you agree he was a very inspirational figure, and he was able to recruit a lot of people in the organization.
Sure, and over time, the U.S. government's view of him has changed. They think that he moved into more of an operational role, so that he wasn't just somebody who was sort of a cleric on the sidelines. So, you know, it's a big deal. Is it, you know, Osama bin Laden being killed? No, nothing like it.
Now, talk to me about Samir Khan. This is an individual who was directly involved in the al-Qaeda magazine called Inspire.
Yeah.
What about him?
Well, Samir Khan, you know, he's sort of like an internet guy, very tech savvy. They put out 7 of these magazines. In fact, in one of the magazines, they took me on personally. They critiqued me for saying that Al-Qaeda was a big loser in the Arab Spring. They took on Fareed Zakaria. You know,
they criticized people on CNN in Inspire magazine.
Right. So they, you know, they grew up in the West.
Did you take that as a compliment?
Well, I mean, it was just it was interesting. It was not. I mean, I responded on CNN saying, you know, I don't think you're correct. I mean, I think the Arab Spring is a big problem for you guys, and of course have not heard anything since. But the point is that they engaged with the West. You know, some of these magazines were kind of stupid. I mean, Samir Khan wrote an issue where he was suggesting Al-Qaeda should put blades on a tractor and drive them into a crowd. Now, even Osama bin Laden, some of the materials in the compound said that seemed like a pretty stupid idea. So, you know, they were putting out these magazines. They were in English, and that's why they got a lot of attention. Does this put a dent into Al-Qaeda in Yemen now that these 2 are eliminated? Yeah, I mean, I think it does. But, I mean, I think this is part of a larger... There's been a huge... In the last, I'd say, 18 months, there's been a series of American drone strikes. There are U.S. Special Forces in Yemen. The Yemeni military is cooperating to some degree. They're under a lot of pressure. You know, this is just added pressure. Peter Bergen, thanks so much for this. Thank you. Less than a decade ago, Al-Aulaqi was preaching here at a mosque in the Washington area, and news of his killing is drawing strong reaction from worshipers there. CNN's Lisa Sylvester talked to some of them. Lisa, what did they tell you?
Hi there, Joe. Well, you know, I spoke to several members at that mosque after prayers today, and they are really putting distance between themselves and Al-Aulaqi, noting that those were his views, not theirs, that the message that they heard at the mosque is one of peace and tolerance, not violence and hatred. At the Dar al-Hedra Mosque in Falls Church, Virginia, a call to Friday prayers. Here, hundreds of devout Muslims come to worship. The mosque has been labeled controversial, embattled, even dubbed the 9/11 mosque. Two of the 9/11 hijackers worshipped here in 2001. The Fort Hood alleged shooter Nidal Hassan also attended services here. And Anwar al-Awlaki, radical American-born cleric who used the internet as a recruiting tool for al-Qaeda, was the imam here from 2001 to 2002. Worshippers we spoke to, many of them young professionals, said they do not in any way share al-Awlaki's radical views. Mansour Rashid is not only a member of the mosque, he works for the Army National Guard.
Actions of some of the folks that go to this mosque doesn't represent what the mosque is all about. I live in the area. I grew up born and raised in America. We don't obviously feel the same way.
Jawad Saeed shares similar views.
I would say in a way, like, we're not glad that he's dead, but at the same token, it's helpful. We're trying to clear our name. He definitely does not represent what Islam is all about.
The mosque's current imam, Johari Abdul Malik, says it was only after al-Awlaki left in 2002 that he began preaching violence. Abdul Malik declined to interview requests and instead issued a statement saying, quote, "We reiterate that as an American faith community, we do not accept violence nor extremism." But the same statement adds, quote, "We have rejected the use of extrajudicial assassination of any human being, and especially an American citizen, which includes al-Awlaki. We reiterate our commitment to due process under law and justice and are concerned that the alleged drone attack sends the wrong message to law-abiding people around the world." Arslan Ifkhar is a human rights lawyer and author. He says for the members of al-Awlaki's former mosque, this is a time to turn the page.
I think that there might be people who might not have fully, agreed with the methodology used. But again, I think that there are going to be very, very few people in the Muslim community who are going to lose any sleep at all over the death of Anwar al-Awlaqi. And if anything, he was a stain on the community, both here domestically and globally.
And al-Aulaqi helped with that online al-Qaeda magazine called Inspire. It was a new edition that was just put up, in fact, a couple of days ago. Now, the imam at his former mosque said with his death, al-Aulaqi will no longer be able to spread his message of hate over the internet. Joe?
Lisa Sylvester. The Al-Aulaqi killing is stirring up controversy, with critics calling it an illegal summary execution by the United States government. We'll check the facts with CNN senior legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin. Also, did Al-Awlaqi's father ever consider helping the U.S. find his son? CNN's Paula Newton interviewed him. She'll join us live as well. Plus, the intelligence that led to this high-value target. I'll talk to the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee as we follow the breaking news.